guys, Bolts96 for the O is a 0, and in today's video we are taking a look at 7 footballers, yes, 7, who you did not know are still playing the beautiful game. There's going to be a few blasts from the past, so if you like your nostalgia, make sure to watch the rest of this video. James Rodriguez, we start this list with one of the world's most expensive ever transfers and someone who was supposed to become the next big player, but he ended up being a bit of a letdown to say the least. Clearly a very gifted footballer who has played for some of the biggest clubs in the world in Porto, Monaco, Bayern Munich and even Everton, but most famously Real Madrid. And when Real signed him off the back of the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, and most notably that goal against Uruguay for £63 million, we all thought he was going to go on to become one of the top 5 players in the world, but Rodriguez just couldn't live up to the hype or the standards of Real Madrid. In 6 years at the club, he only managed 125 appearances across all competitions, with a 2-year loan spell at Bayern Munich in between. In all fairness, he did actually score 37 goals and set up 42 assists during his time there, which is a really productive turnaround if you're looking at it from a stats perspective. But it was the rest of his play that was lacking, and Real Madrid fans, who are notoriously hard to please, never fully took to him, with this transfer basically being the nail in the coffin of the Galacticos period. Stints at the aforementioned Bayern Munich and Everton showed promise on a handful of occasions that James Rodriguez could recapture the form of the 2014 World Cup, but both failed to materialise into anything consistently positive. Eventually, and somewhat inevitably, he ended up falling out of favour at both clubs, and his next 2 moves showed just how much his stock has fallen in recent years. A transfer to Qatari club Al Rayyan, followed by a larger club but still a long way away from where he should be, Olympiacos, both only lasting 1 season each and both being terminated by mutual consent. Doesn't read well, does it? In 2024, and still only at 32 years of age, he now finds himself playing for Sao Paulo in the Brazilian league, clearly historically a big club, and I don't mean any disrespect to them, but considering the potential this guy had, he should still be playing at one of the top clubs of European football. Instead, he finds himself back in South America, where he has played 14 games and only scored 1 goal whilst registering 3 assists. Not exactly prolific. An incredibly talented player, his career has dwindled but not died yet, although there doesn't look like there's going to be any improvement anytime soon. Mario Balotelli. Considering how loud Mario Balotelli's career was during his Inter Milan and Manchester City days, you would be forgiven for thinking at 33 years of age that he had retired and gone on to just living life to the fullest away from football. But no, rather ironically, the man behind the "Why Always Me" t-shirt has been forgotten about by the casual football fan, but he is still playing. Most would probably remember him last during his infamous stints at Liverpool and AC Milan, which is when his star really began to fall from the lofty heights of the European elite. A move to Nice in 2016 did bring a lot of hope that he could get his career back on track, with a very impressive return of 43 goals and 76 appearances across all competitions, bagging him a move to one of the biggest clubs in France, Marseille. Unfortunately, that comeback didn't last long, with him leaving the club only a matter of months later and joining hometown but much smaller club Brescia in Serie A as a free agent. Moves to smaller clubs followed and continued until where we find him now at Adana Demirspor in Turkey. He has a pretty good scoring record there, with a ratio of 1 in every 2, and by all accounts he is still a decent player, but with the talent that this man had, similarly to James Rodriguez, he should be playing for a top club in one of the top 5 European leagues. Leroy Lita. I remember having Leroy Lita in my shootout trading card collection, which was before Match Attax, whilst he was at Reading in his younger years, and he was only a 1 out of 5. Since that day, I don't know why in particular, but I always liked him, and I appreciated how many really solid lower Premier League and Championship level teams he ended up playing for, which is a lot. Starting at Bristol City in 2002, he has since gone on to play for Reading, Charlton, Norwich, Middlesbrough, Swansea, Birmingham, Sheffield Wednesday, Brighton, Barnsley, Notts County, Ayo Chania, Yeovil, Sisaket, Margate, Salisbury, Chelmsford, Nuneaton, Stratford, Huddersfield, Ilkeston, Nuneaton again, and Colville. Jeez, let me catch my breath. Currently at Colville, who play in the Southern League Premier Division Central, which is the 7th tier of the English league system, at 39 years old, probably getting paid next to nothing for that level. I absolutely love the fact that he is still actively playing. He could have hung up his boots a long time ago, but to clearly have so much love for the game that he is willing to be playing at a stadium which is virtually just a field is completely admirable. The majority of footballing fans who don't follow the lower leagues probably forgot about Leroy Lita Inter after his stints in the Championship started to end all the way back in 2013. So to hear that he's still actively playing over 10 years later has got to bring a smile to some of your faces. Let me know in the comments if your club is one of the 22 that Leroy Lita has played for during his career. Scott Sinclair, a blast from the past. Yes, that's right, ex-Chelsea, Manchester City, Swansea, Aston Villa and Celtic player. Scott Sinclair is still playing football and still at a decent level and all. The soon-to-be 35-year-old player is currently turning out for the club he started his career with, Bristol Rovers in League One. Based on his stats, he seems to be playing pretty well there, and I can testify to seeing him recently playing for Preston North End prior to his move to Bristol Rovers, where he was still the same type of player we remember him as. Speedy, tricky and with an eye for goal. Always such a talented player, his time at Swansea was probably his most memorable in the Premier League, as he and Wayne Routledge tore teams apart from either wing. Damn, that was a good team. His move to Manchester City was a mistake, however, as he barely ever featured and suffered a similar experience there as Calvin Phillips has most recently had happen to him. After 4 years and a couple of loan spells, a move to Celtic came calling, and boy did he recapture that Swansea form. Scott Sinclair was so exciting for Celtic and ripped that league a new one. Injuries have unfortunately hampered his career, but Scott Sinclair has played for some massive clubs during that time, and even at a lower level, he isn't done yet. And don't worry, I'm not done yet, but I would like to take a second to ask you to show your support and hit the subscribe button. It really does go a long way for the channel, so go on, I'll count you down to press it. 3, 2, 1, and subscribe. Lucas Podolski. Lucas Podolski does not get spoken about enough. He was such an underrated player and seems to have been forgotten about by the modern day fan. But as the saying goes, the streets never forget, and they certainly won't forget Lucas Podolski. If you enjoyed pure speed and power, then you couldn't go far wrong with watching Podolski turn out for the likes of Bayern Munich, FC Cologne, Arsenal, Inter Milan and Galatasaray during his heyday. And it's that stint with Galatasaray when it ended all the way back in 2017, where most fans would probably have thought that his career ended there, but 7 years on and he's still going. After spending 3 years with Vissel Kobe in Japan and bossing it, he went back to Turkey for a year with Antalyaspor before finally moving to, and forgive me for the pronunciation, Górnik Zabrze in the Polish top division, where he has been playing since 2021. At 38 years of age and turning 39 in just a few months' time, he seems to still be bossing it with 77 games played, 20 goals scored and 16 assists created during his time there. What a player this guy was. Scratch that. Still is. I'm sure the fans of the aforementioned teams remember him fondly, and if you are one of those fans, tell me in the comments your memories of the man himself. Grisko Krychowiak. Yet another horrendous pronunciation. I'm sure I won't be repeating that name for the rest of this entry. He's moved around quite a lot during his career, but most will remember him for his time with Sevilla, PSG and West Brom on this side of the waters. A top talent on his day, he earned a big money move to PSG back in 2016 for around £30 million. His incredibly difficult to pronounce name was on the tip of everyone's lips, but it didn't quite work out from there. Struggling to get into the team, loan moves to West Brom and Lokomotiv Moscow followed before they signed him on a permanent deal back in 2019. His star value gradually dwindled and most will have forgotten about him by now, but surprise, surprise, he is actually still playing football, 34 years of age, and surprise, surprise, he is actually playing in the most talked about league of the past year, the Saudi Pro League, playing for Abha under his prior manager of the Poland national team. Things seem to be going well for this long forgotten man. Nacer Chadli, a similar sort of character to Lucas Podolski, but on the other side of North London now. Incredibly underrated, Nacer Chadli was an absolute baller on his day and played for some big teams during that time. One of the few positive signings that came from the Gareth Bale money, Spurs found their own underrated gem in Nacer Chadli. A real squad player and a hard worker for that team, he came up with important goals and was an important member of that team during his time there. Moves to West Brom and Monaco followed, still playing at the top level and still in the Belgium squad, where he has made over 60 appearances for his national side, before then moving out of the top 5 leagues, but still playing for some massive teams in Anderlecht and Istanbul Başakşehir. Currently, if you are wanting to watch Chadli play, you're going to have to tune in to the Belgian Pro League, where you'll catch him in the yellow strip of Westerlo. At 34 years of age, his career is winding down and retirement could soon come calling, but for now, Nacer Chadli, as the rest of this list, is still going strong. And that was 7 footballers who you did not know are still playing the game. If you liked what you watched, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know down in those comments what you thought of this list and the players chosen, and whether you have any fond memories of them playing for your club. Please do also check me out across all my other socials. I am on Twitch where I do all my streaming, X, Instagram and TikTok, all under the same handle, Bolts96. But the O's 0. Thank you very much for watching. Yes, you. I see you. Thank you. And I'll see you on the next one.